Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a fantastic night. Just starting out with the first round of the league. Big shout out to everyone who's donated so far, who's got us up to a 490 Australian dollar prize pool. An absolutely insane amount, an incredible showing of support from the community. And it's all for you guys, and all thanks to you guys that we're able to run stuff like this. Jim, you're enjoying yourself tonight? Oh, I can't. You're muted. You've got yourself muted, mate.
Classic. I've always enjoyed myself on every stream, David. Even when I'm causing production headaches. That's probably when I enjoy myself the most.
Yeah. For those who don't know, so I'm running the production and casting as well, so if there's any issues, it's all on me, but hopefully things get sorted as we go on. It looks like I was still dropping a few frames every now and again, which means that next week we'll probably go down to 720p and make sure we're all good. Of course, I did tell K-Man Ben to message me on Discord with the username and password. Still doesn't manage to do it, but thanks, Ben, for giving me the details. So this one's going to be Mindfreak versus Ground Zero. What are your thoughts, Jim?
Yeah, look, I'm actually keen to see this matchup because both these two teams are slightly different in terms of their form at the moment. I'm keen to see how Ground Zero will go. I know that, as you said, they've been on quite a run of form at the moment too, so keen to see how they go from strength to strength. But in terms of Mindfreak, I see a lot of potential there. I see a lot of potential for them to maybe even cause a few headaches for Ground Zero. Whether or not they can actually take them down, I don't know if they're going to have that in them. But either way, it's going to be an entertaining match.
Well, the good thing is that we haven't seen these guys play. It's kind of like number 3 versus number 4 in the region, but there's been a step difference between even 3rd and 4th. Sure, there's a top 4, but there's also a strict top 3 and maybe even a strict top 2 at the same time, with stepping stones between every single one of those. So we haven't seen Ground Zero versus Mindfreak, not in the first 2 regional events, and there's no real events that they've been in outside of that. So this is our chance to really see how that goes. And we'll get underway shortly with game number 1 of this 3rd round, as we see whether Mindfreak have what it takes to take down Ground Zero. We know that Ground Zero are top 3, but this could secure Mindfreak in the top 3 if they can take him down here.
And wouldn't that be an achievement for these guys as well? Ground Zero have sort of long been that team that have had their ups and downs around that 2-3 position in the region, but if a new contender can show themselves, I think that really does show the strength of the region as well.
Saw some really good creativity coming out from Ground Zero in some of their successful matches, but you don't really see that from Mindfreak outside of Fever. They're more controlled aggression. Is that possible against a team like Ground Zero? A more experienced team who deal with the pressure pretty well. We'll kind of get to see how that goes. As, again, when we talk to Mindfreak quite often, they're more talking about how they're trying to play a new, more aggressive play style. We'll see if that pans out for them here.
I always like watching Requiem play as well. Find him quite an entertaining player to watch. Also an entertaining player to have in your Twitch chat, funnily enough, as well. But, and I don't mean to encourage him in that regard either. But he's
entertaining in like seeing a car crash, right?
You just can't look away, can you?
Yeah, it's always interesting to have Requiem around for sure, but I actually feel like he's becoming more of a stable player on that roster, and maybe importantly so when you've got someone like Fever who is maybe a defensive-ish player, but is also able to make big plays at the same time.
Yeah, well, there was that period in time too where he was just sort of everybody's favourite substitute, Requiem. He just seemed to be the 4th for a lot of different player combos, and Caveman Ben just puts the finishing touches on a good passing sequence. And
a passing sequence that did, of course, involve Jules at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's that's what Jules does. He does sometimes pass it to the opposition, which results in a good passing play. But nonetheless, it was just a single pass that made it through. After that, they were able to capitalise on. So Mindfreak get themselves off to early start, and Fever also piles on some hurt downtown.
Well, Jules did used to be on a team with Requiem. He did. Well, Requiem used to be on Ground Zero for a while, so maybe he's forgotten. Goal number 2. An early start here for Mindfreak. Maybe a bit of a surprise. I was expecting them to potentially find it difficult to get past the defense. But maybe that's the difference right now between Ground Zero and the Cringe Society Renegades top 2. Just sheer control in terms of defense, the ability to get past. So maybe Mindfreak are in a good position here.
Find out over the course of this series as to whether or not that good position can be converted into a series win. In the very least, they need to get themselves that first game. Got a long way towards doing that as well. But Ground Zero, we know that they possess some very consistent players in Jules and Express. I mean, I've already given Jules the kiss of death because he's shown that he's been able to pass it for his opposition. But Caveman Ben has been a real headache for Ground Zero.
It's awesome to see Caveman Ben being so good as well. Instrumental in this one. And that angle. Oh, he gets the first touch against the corner, recovers beautifully, up there for the redirect, gets it on target. Very good start. And I feel like, Caveman Ben may be the one that's been the biggest victim of nerves. So for him to really show in the league where the pressure isn't as high is absolutely fantastic.
They are just full of confidence right now. You can see that Fever, he had all the time in the world. There was nobody putting pressure on him whatsoever. And yeah, Caveman Ben, he's one of those players that coming out of his cave and doing just fine.
It's also fantastic to see these two teams play because they're both kind of those teams that are looking to try and get to Worlds one way or the other, right? As Jules scores that goal. They're both the teams that are outside of Cringe Society and Renegades, and they need to grow as, the 3 seasons, the 3 splits goes on. They need to figure out ways to get into that top 2 or to take down your likes of Cringe and Renegades. And I really feel like between these two teams, you're only ever going to see one of them take those 2 spots. You know that there's no chance that both Renegades and Cringe Society don't go. So
No. I'd hope not, anyway.
This kind of contest here is really cool to see as well. At the moment, maybe due to some unfortunate circumstances for Ground Zero, but at the moment, Mindfreak are also ahead in terms of points in RLCS.
Well, you said it rightly that this was the battle for 3rd and 4th between these two teams. And first of all, it starts out as a battle for 3rd and 4th between them, and then it... Ben, that was a bit ambitious.
Well, he's got to go for it. Potential goal,
Absolutely. But I think in the end he just played himself. And Jules finds a goal that Ground Zero needed. 2-goal lead though, still in possession of Mindfreak. I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome it, but as I was saying earlier, 3rd versus 4th, you start contending in those sorts of matches to try and cement yourself as 3rd best. Next thing you know, you're pushing for that 2nd spot. You're pushing for that 1st spot. So it all starts here with a matchup between 3rd and 4th.
Certainly a good proving ground and maybe even confidence when it comes to the weekend play. But again, you kind of look back at Caveman Ben. This is looking much more like his true potential. We sort of had some people who really highly rate him, especially Kami from the Renegades. Really rated him highly, and it hasn't shown yet. But now today, maybe this is our first chance to see him really shine on this roster.
Maybe this is the evolution of Caveman Ben. We're seeing him in his primitive stages, and next thing you know, he'll be walking and using tools.
So we're Stone Age Ben. We're looking for the Iron Age Ben pretty shortly. And, the Ben of the future, looking pretty bright. I'm liking seeing where he's going. He doesn't normally top score because you normally see Fever have such a high impact. And he still did, of course. But Caveman Ben, some of his plays were absolutely spectacular.
He's getting... he's going for that cultural victory, no doubt.
Well, at the moment, Ground Zero looking a bit like Gandhi. Playing a little bit pacifist at the start of the match. But at the very end, the nuke started to come out. So it's good to see. I don't think Ground Zero are going to feel out of this at any point in time. Even if they go down a couple of games, they'll be pretty happy. Jules as well, the big monster in the back who can have some big games, but Amphis is the one that they've really brought in to be a powerhouse of this team.
Ooh. Yeah, they've really put him as the point man for them, and he needs to deliver on that. I mean, he knows that he's got some solid players behind him in Jules and Express. And Jules, we know that he's got a wealth of experience, same with Express. And I rated Express as one of the most consistent players not too long ago. And on the back of his consistency, you're able to build a really strong team. So I'm liking what I see from Ground Zero. But that being said, though, we're seeing a Mindfreak that are really taking it to them, and that's exciting prospects for this region.
It's also interesting to see because Jules has, told everyone that he's playing a pretty hard third man nowadays, but I'd have to disagree a little bit. He's playing kind of more of a second man role. Of course, whenever you have Amphis on the team, he's going to be your point man. He's going to be up ahead. So definitely less aggressive than he used to be. More supportive. And I think that's also an evolution for Jules at the same time.
Oh, that was just a steam train.
I don't even know what to say about this goal. I mean, you had Express moving forward for a demo. Very big scrap. He somehow steals that away because he got bumped into it. But it was going to be a goal had he not.
Yeah, it was rolling thunder. You really couldn't stop that. There was no one in front of the ball. You can't do too much in that situation. You've left yourself really open at the back here for Mindfreak, and that's good for Ground Zero because that first series really was a tearaway for Mindfreak on the back of some excellent play from Caveman Ben, and we're going to need to see a little bit more from him as well. Amphis just happy to put Requiem away, and that leaves Jules some opportunity in front of goal, but cannot get that ball directed. As Caveman Ben just assures that it is going nowhere fast. Fever just looking to keep the boost of Ground Zero in check.
This has been 3 goals in a row, though, for Ground Zero, so they're pretty happy with how things are going playstyle-wise, and it's really up to Mindfreak to step up. Sure, it's only 1 goal in this game, but they've let a few too many opportunities, and Jules especially being a major part of that. Just his solo plays, his individual plays in that front half being very impactful, and there just circles around that one, kind of fakes out the challenge, and that's what opens up the net.
And that's just, again, him being in the right areas as well and putting pressure on Mindfreak. Huge capitalization there, looking much more solid in this match than they were in the first game. So it is, we're seeing some of these teams, in terms of their performance from one game to another, complete night and day.
Absolutely incredible as well to see these guys pop off, and it hasn't felt as good for Mindfreak in this game. They haven't really felt like they're putting much pressure on at all, which is their standard gameplay. They haven't had some big dribbles, some fever, and did they have to rely on Caveman Ben making big plays? Well, he hasn't been able to make any in this one. But you typically can't rely on always making big plays unless you're NRG.
Yeah, look, you don't always write it into the game plan. You can't build a game plan around goal line saves either. So it needs a little bit more depth than that. And yeah, we haven't seen a typical performance from Ground Zero, but it's still getting them the result that they needed as well. Caveman Ben, as we said, we know he's a real live wire. Fever as well can also really turn it up, and it's Requiem that's probably the passive, quiet player that just goes about doing his duty. Doesn't necessarily become the most flashy player on the pitch, but there's a reason why a lot of teams in the past have chosen him as a consistent, solid substitute.
Well, it's funny because I really felt like in the past he has been a big flashy player, trying to make the biggest plays possible, and maybe fallen flat, just getting himself out of position, maybe overthinking things. And it seems he's gone back to basics, and he's really nailing it right now for me. Maybe he's not as impactful as he was before, but they're not looking at necessarily being the best team today. They're looking a month, 2 months down the line. How can they be number one? It's cool to be number 3 right now, but does that really matter if you're trying that long game plan towards the top?
It really is the evolution and maturity of a player to be able to make that transition as well, which is seemingly what he's been able to do. Like Ground Zero, making the transition and taking the second game of the series. But yeah, I mean, we know that Requiem has also got a wealth of experience as well. He's played with some fantastic players in the region. Right now, he's that guiding hand for this team. And you can't be a guiding hand whilst also being a very aggressive and flashy player. So I think he's taken on that role of being a little bit more passive, but it's brought a lot more consistency to his game.
That's really good. I'm excited to see the future of this team, of course. I think right now they're kind of missing out on the firepower needed to take down Ground Zero. No, we know that they can go for that quality pressure game, but that's not going to quite work against Ground Zero, it seems. Kind of question that at the beginning of this series and kind of have a few answers when it comes to that now. So we know that they can bring out more, is whether they can do it here in game number 3 to bring this one back.
Well, the best of 7 series, I think it's safe to say that games aren't, series aren't lost in the third game, but you build yourself a real head of steam coming out of them. So both of these two teams, it's been a real struggle for momentum thus far, but this is a chance for one of these two teams to either surge ahead in the series or maintain and wrestle back some of that momentum.
Momentum at the moment very much in Ground Zero's favor. Haven't seen too much of Mindfreak in the last game, and this will be where it really comes to the fore. Is Requiem going to be aggressive enough on this one? Just a little bit too late. This one bumps off Express. He's had a few moments in this series so far where that's happened. Jules, where's he going? Oh no, off the corner. Fever takes advantage, but this touch of Jules just not good enough.
Yeah, that's a tough touch. You really don't set your teammate up for too much success with that, and that means opportunity for Mindfreak, and they oblige as well. They had the run of play there, so unfortunate, but the cookie has already crumbled. And Ground Zero, they need to find a way back in. It's probably most needed as well for Mindfreak because they were very absent in that last game, so good to see them on the board early here.
Yeah, it is really nice to see, and sure, it's off a mistake, but that's because Mindfreak are good at forcing out the mistakes. And in that situation, that's very important. The infield pass to Caveman Ben looks really good, but players from Ground Zero ready. You're going to expect that from the likes of Jules and Express. Very good in the intercept as well, and Amphis as well. No slouch when it comes to that area because he's pretty much just aggressive on the ball, so it means he's advantaged in the intercept. Express could have had that one. I think if you're Mindfreak, you might be happy to try and hold on to a 1-goal lead here. Not try to get too much, but in game number 1, Ground Zero did bring it back with 2 goals at the end.
player here, Caveman Ben. He was shown the door swiftly, but he's going to be, no doubt, who Mindfreak are looking to open their way back up into this match.
The Amphis for now, with a good infield pass across to Jules, but it's very quickly countered. Caveman Ben didn't have the boost and kind of pre-jumped that one. Very much could have been a quick counter-attack goal, maybe if Ben had played a little bit more patient, but it seems that Ground Zero really putting him on edge right now. Another interesting jump from Caveman Ben may not work out for them as Requiem gets bumped away from the clear. Caveman Ben having to step up here. Try to club that one away, but it's stuck in the corner as Ground Zero keep moving it forward. Every single touch is contested at the moment, but Mindfreak do really well. They end up taking a lot of touches to get it down the other end, but managed to make it work. Now they have a shot. The 50 with Express, and that was no! Oh, it could have just been on target for the first hit. Requiem could have corrected it, but not right there. A brilliant play from Mindfreak, though. Much better showing in terms of aggressive attitude. And even there, Requiem going for another bump. If that one had come out, it would have completely opened up the net. Made it a goal. Another one off the crossbar this time. That is difficult to see for Mindfreak, but even still, they're keeping them in a position where this one-goal lead is very tough to come back on because at all times, Ground Zero on the defense.
Yeah, there's been some really good passages of play here, and another one, Fever. Jules needed to get into the defense there, and he did get himself in between, but great passage of play coming out from Mindfreak, and unfortunate not to put that ball away. Just opting, as you said, for a direct pass or a more direct pass than it probably needed to be. So I didn't really give Requiem a lot of room to move and redirect it. He just had to react. That ball was coming straight to him.
Something that I criticized Mindfreak on before was their lack of demos, and they've been going for them in these cases, but just haven't quite hit them yet. So maybe a bit more practice on those will open up the net a bit more. Right now, it's the last chance for Ground Zero to tie up the game. Had a small chance of attack there. It's a pass up to Amphis. Has got the redirect, but it's straight to Caveman Ben. One more chance, but another bump comes out. We'll stop that happening. Mindfreak get the advantage in the series again.
Much better performance too. And that came off the back of a game where they weren't really present whatsoever. So for them to turn it around in match number 3, that is great for a team, as we said. They're younger. They have yet to really garner a lot of experience. So to be able to do that at these early stages, that's great for them. But they're going to need to continue here because Ground Zero are no slouches. And game 4, I reckon Ground Zero might have it in them to just, if they can nullify Caveman Ben as they have been doing and continue to build on that, I think might just leave Mindfreak with fewer options.
It's it's a tough task, right? You think we talk about World's experience as well. Express has been to a couple, Jules has been to a couple as well, and obviously that's a massive advantage. Amphis came second in the last RLCS. Of course, there was no Worlds for that one, but still major performance when he was with Fury. And Amphis kind of reminds me of early days Alpha 54 in terms of how much fear he's put on, but he's still a bit of a rough-cut diamond at the moment. A bit more polishing needed there, just like you were talking about with the entire Mindfreak roster. Despite some of the experience on the players, and that one gets past their defense. Express gets the first one on the board.
And this is what we need to see more of from Jules as well. Just getting in there with the early touches. And that was just a good all-round team play from Ground Zero. And that's what they need to do. Start to go back to some of those basics as well. We know that they've got great passing game in them. It's just a matter of stringing that together, because I've seen very few passing plays from Ground Zero.
And it's always interesting to see as well, because you always have Jules in support, as you see right there, second man on the side of the pitch, just waiting for the play to happen. Maybe Amphis looking solo just a few too many times. That's a big bump. That could open up the net, but Express shuts it down very quickly and buys time for the respawn. Again, the experience of Express knowing to go for that situation, knowing to shut down the play before it could really happen. Still, Mindfreak may be able to set some pressure up here if Caveman Ben could win that one, but Jules is incredibly quick. Now they have to try and get out of defense as Amphis is circling here, goes for high and gets dunked at the same time. Look how aggressive Amphis is. You can see him always circling right close to the net. That one gets put in. There's a demo. There's multiple players in front of net, but in the end, it's a simple one to get that one in front of goal.
Yeah, and that's just patience rewarded as well from Ground Zero. You can see that they really did just harass the defense, and in the end, that turnover and passing play really did hurt Mindfreak. But what is Mindfreak's reply going to be? What are they going to turn to here? We've seen them really go absent in the games where they've gone down early. And I fear that may happen here. They go a little bit quiet. They stop playing the game that has been finding them success.
It certainly feels like maybe they just need to get that early goal and hold on to it. I mean, that's how they won the last game. It doesn't seem to have too much in terms of their attack, and making a comeback, that's very difficult if you're not brutalizing the opponent's net on a regular basis. Again, that's kind of just hitting the ball forward from the midfield line. We are seeing some more demos. We saw a double demo from Fever and another demo right there from Requiem, but very well timed. That should be a demo in the front half, or it's just a bump that opens up the net.
Yeah, and you can see Ground Zero right now. They're playing with confidence. Just, even then, Express not even giving him a chance whatsoever to get himself in front of that ball. So Ground Zero playing with confidence and getting those bumps going. It's making it really difficult for Mindfreak to find any sort of rhythm. Great save.
Yeah, it really has looked good at the moment for Ground Zero in this game. That's a crazy angle from Amphis. Just a read and a half from the kid.
Not only that too, but end to end. A second ago, he was stopping the ball from going in the back of the net. And next thing you know, he's putting the finishing touch on a team play. So that is great stuff from him. Ground Zero really have had the rub of the green in this game. And a very quiet Mindfreak. Really haven't seen too many opportunities come out from them. It's been traffic all one way for Ground Zero. And for Ground Zero, no doubt, they're going to take confidence from that. It's probably what they were most expecting out of some of the earlier series, but maybe another lit-up performance from Caveman Ben is what's needed to inspire Mindfreak here.
It's still a minute remaining. I mean, the fourth goal came with basically 2 minutes remaining. It was actually kind of comebackable, but it never feels like that with Mindfreak. It doesn't feel like they're a comeback type team. It doesn't feel like they're a team that can score 3 goals in quick succession. They have to really work hard for most of their goals, and that makes it a shame that they're getting scored on 4 times in a row, right? That they're not able to hold a defense, because they're going to need to keep these to a low scoring affair if they want to get that win.
It's interesting too that I guess some of the more defensive sides that we've seen throughout OCE history, Express has been a part of those. Express, you know, if you're going to let them get a lead against you, particularly teams that Express is part of, it's very difficult to work your way back into those sort of matches. He has a really good way of coordinating the defense. So I'm really impressed with what I've seen. As I said, another storied player within the region, and Ground Zero is certainly building on the back of that as maybe a chance for a 5th here, but Mindfreak, some flurry of defense prevents that from happening. Caveman Ben tries to put the icing on the cake, but Ground Zero, very convincing winners in that game.
Well, it's very interesting as well what you talk about with Express, because, you know, yeah, he is a more defensively minded player, and you know, when you combine it with a very aggressive goal-scoring players like Jules and Amphis, you know, it looks like a good team. And then you also have Express going for the odd demo and play, and we know that his mechanics can be up there. think it's something that he's working on a little bit more right now. But the recipe for Ground Zero, I feel, is all there. The trio for Ground Zero is all there. Kind of like it was with Decker when he was a massive striker, not necessarily a big individual solo player like Amphis, but a big striker was a major part of that attack. And they won the last RSS, so surely they can kind of find that same secret to success again.
It's just about recapturing the vibe. That's what it seems to be. And it's good that they're trying different options as well, trying to find that best fit for what is working for them, but also working within the region as well. As we do see Ground Zero. Just get that ball down the end here. As we see Caveman Ben, he was, as we said, a real prospect for Mindfreak in the opening match. It actually reminded me of what we saw of Drippe in the first match. He was just running away with it, having time in front of goal, and there we go. Bit of end-to-end action here as Fever gets released as big clearance from Caveman Ben, able to set that up. And yeah, we know how dangerous Drippe is in front of net, and that's what Caveman Ben's performance was reminding me of. So recapturing that, they may see themselves start to push Ground Zero. And this is what we said produced better results for Mindfreak, was getting that early goal.
This is danger zone as well, of course, for Ground Zero. No Mindfreak can hold on to this lead. I think with this amount of time remaining, though, it's going to be difficult. And Expressus does it all by himself. He's basically just challenging everyone. Jules, of course, did get the first touch on that one. He actually bumped Requiem too, which he used to score that goal. Bumps Requiem into position, uses Requiem to get the angle on the net.
Requiem was just the pawn on a chessboard then. And yeah, well, sometimes it takes an inspired performance from an individual to get a team going back into a match. But what I was mentioning earlier was that Mindfreak have been better in the games where they've been able to get ahead. So that has been put to rest, though, by Ground Zero. And they're starting to build themselves into the match. So certainly can't let either of these teams get ahead, because it seems as though once they get going, they're very difficult to crack open once again.
It's going to be tough for Mindfreak, of course, because they haven't been scoring a lot of goals except for that first game where it felt like, you know, with context, that Ground Zero just weren't really warmed up yet. Of course, Caveman Ben was also firing on all cylinders. We haven't seen the same performance out of him for the rest of it. Maybe just a little bit less room on the pitch given to him. We'll see if Fever can be the one to kind of open up that net. He's a big supportive player in terms of making big plays to open it up, but that's fortunate for Ground Zero. It is just very good backing each other up. Jules across to Amphis. It's straight back to Jules where he landed. Bit of fortune, but, you know, that's what happens.
Yeah, you'll take those. If you're able to recover and get yourself a goal like that, just sneak the ball in the back post, you'll take it every day of the week. So you said they were working on their mechanics, and that's paid dividends for them as well. Some reactionary play, but also some fortunate play as well.
Mindfreak, you're usually thinking you want to hold out on the defense for the most part. They usually prefer to be holding that on the midfield line with their new play style. So to see them doing it so much in front of their goal is a bad sign for them. Requiem does make a clever save, very difficult to react and still get the car there in the first place, because, you know, it's not like just swinging on a vine and you're kind of stuck in midair. You got a flip that'll hopefully get you in that right direction. And Requiem has been always very good at, you know, figuring out what's the best flip to make in an awkward position. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's probably a sign that he's in an awkward position maybe too much as well, right?
Yeah, every time I try and swing on a vine like that, I just end up like Georgia the Jungle. Face first into a tree or a building.
But I always think that when it comes to Tarzan, you might be the Jane, so I think you look pretty in a dress.
I do need a lot of saving.
Also to Mindfreak, so they've been having to make save after save after save throughout the last couple of games. And they could have been in a good position if they could have stayed out of the defense for this one and maintained that 1-goal lead, that early lead, but it seems like Ground Zero have learnt from, it was game number 3 where Mindfreak held on to a 1-goal lead. Now Requiem has missed that one. A few too many misses as well coming out from earlier. We saw very clinical play from from Mindfreak, where it felt like they couldn't miss anything.
They really were on a tear, and it just seems as now a few errors are starting to creep into their game. That really has been to their detriment, because I was liking what I was seeing from them as well. And this is just Ground Zero looking to run down that timer. They're comfortable in that 1-goal lead position right now. We're looking for that double touch. Amphis, that is slick.
It is very nice as well to see him, I guess, making the solo play. Because that is exactly what he was brought on for. It's not opening up the net, it's just cracking it straight open, cracking open the scoreboard. And this pitch is not looking good. If you're trying to make that comeback late in day 5 of a test match, it's usually the hardest part to score from. And at the moment, Mindfreak 2 goals down, another one on the way, but does get saved out, but still too late. It looks like Ground Zero going on to match point against Mindfreak.
Mindfreak are going to need to find a more inspired performance than what we've seen out of them. They look good. They look promising after that early goal, but what we saw from Ground Zero was just the ability to reel their opposition back in and build on consistent passing, putting pressure on their opposition as well, just forcing some errors as well. So, Ground Zero now a match point and looking to finish week 1 of the league strongly.
I think it's very important for Ground Zero too, because like they're playing well, but I'm not thinking that they're playing at their best at the moment. We've seen some bigger performances, some really creative plays and passing coming out of them, even just in RLCS. So for them to get through this performance in a way that's, I guess, more solid rather than, I guess, inspirational rather than going for big plays is also pretty important for us to see from Ground Zero to really cement them as that top 3, maybe fighting for top 2.
Yeah, they're one of those teams, as we said, that are probably looking to benefit the most alongside the other teams that sit a little bit lower in the scope of things from a competition like the league. Regular practice and storyline building as well, rivalry building. Rocket League makes a more interesting Rocket League all round for this region. So just glad now that there is some regular form of competition for these guys to test their mettle in.
It's also kind of nice too, right, where we see, well, we've always had Mindfreak below Ground Zero, but it looks like the proof is finally in the pudding unless Mindfreak can make a big comeback. And again, I kind of put this down to 2 factors. We want to see Caveman Ben go back to that Game 1 performance, the huge performance he had, taking some risks, being confident in himself. But we could also see some more from Fever. We know the sheer amount of impact that he can have as an individual. That sure, he's playing well enough, but you know, he could be having a game-winning performance, a series-winning performance at any point in time.
Yeah, looking to team up with Caveman Ben, returning provider, as we do see that player in question, Caveman Ben, just putting the finishing touches on. Some great work from Mindfreak to just keep that ball in the danger area, just locking their opposition in, not letting them clear that. And that has resulted in goals coming from pressure.
Really nice to see. And Caveman Ben up really fast, but still getting the angle on target. And that could be another one. That one's just off the post, though. Requiem kicking himself there, especially as the demo comes through, as the counter-attack comes through, as Amphis destroys the lead that Mindfreak had.
And that is so nice to see as well. And good to see these younger players capable of delivering when it comes to putting that solo play together. So we've seen it a few times from Amphis as well, just cracking open the defense, making things happen himself. And that's a role that both Jules and Express have entrusted him with, and it's actually getting them some results. So why not continue to allow him to take the opportunity if he sees it, or just like that, creates it.
It's always funny as well that a lot of the younger players are players you consider more on the mechanical scale rather than, your strategic scale or rotational scale. And that one's an interesting goal to let in. You're not expecting that one to find the back of the net. It was a simple shot, but Amphis went high on it. Didn't quite read it low, and Requiem will get that one over the top of Amphis.
Yeah, I actually thought Amphis would have had that covered, but not to be the case. And maybe that's the spark that Mindfreak would require. Caveman Ben, very direct in the follow-up.
That's a straight kickoff goal. Of course you got to go for the shot on target here. You know you've beaten the cheater. You just have to beat the player who's gone for boost. And he actually goes to the correct side as well. So Caveman Ben certainly stepping up here towards the end of this series. It looks like we're going to have ourselves another Game 7.
Seventh heaven.
Yeah, I'd like to go to 7th heaven with you, Jim, someday.
I'll take you there. Don't you worry about that.
I was going to say, well, we still have 3 minutes, and Ground Zero have been able to score a lot throughout the series, but I don't know if 3 goals is going to be necessarily possible, especially the way that, just the sheer confidence. It feels like a huge confidence play for Mindfreak right now. And now they're actually being aggressive. They're going up for plays that they weren't before. And honestly, I just think they look way better than when they are.
Not only that, too, it's been goals in quick succession. That's probably what's most dangerous about Mindfreak, is that when they have put some goals on, it's not just been 1 goal, it's been 2 goals, 3 goals in this case as well. So
4 goals.
4 goals. Yeah, look, Caveman Ben, this is what we saw in Game 1. Confidence.
It was confidence to move up, especially with the demo happening. It may have gotten in his line of sight to really see, but he's still willing to play it when there are 2 Ground Zero members nearby. And yeah, surely they've secured the game now. I can't see Mindfreak of all teams letting go even maybe a 2-goal lead, let alone a 4-goal lead.
Yeah, it would take something catastrophic for that to happen. It would have to be a total implosion. But I think from Ground Zero's perspective as well, they need to rally again. But this is the weird thing for me between these 2 teams right now, as Amphis does just do his best to try and bring that ledger back to being square, is that when these teams have taken their games in the series, it's been a real shift in momentum. It's almost as though their opposition aren't even present.
It was interesting to see that one guided in by Amphis, but yeah, I mean, what you say is right, is that both teams have been able to have real carry-away games. And I don't know necessarily what it is, whether it's Mindfreak falling flat at any point in time or just sheer midfield control, because it hasn't really felt like a midfield battle's been hotly contested by anyone. Like a back and forth game at either end, at least when it's feeling more even. And at this point in time, even when we're 3 goals ahead, Mindfreak is still pushing in the attack, pushing the pressure, getting the ball high up to the backboard, getting Amphis in a position where he just had to use all his boost right there. Of course, end up making it really work out, but without any more boost, the attack's not really on for them.
Yeah, a real lack of boost is hurting them, really, that's for sure. And another Game 7, here we go. I think...
Well, you call it.
Well, yeah,
maybe expecting that save to happen, I'd say.
Well, to me, that looked a little bit more straightforward than some of the other saves we've seen. But I don't know. Do Ground Zero have it in them to ensure that I have given this game the commentator's curse?
Well, even still, Mindfreak, I mean, putting them in this position where they've just let 2 goals in a row, not a good sign for them. It's kind of very reminiscent of game 1, where they went 4 goals up and then let 2 goals in a row at the very end. So there's a sign towards game number 7 if it does happen. Don't like those odds, and now it's within 1 goal, ladies and gentlemen. Is this one of the biggest comebacks in OCE history? We've seen a 4-goal comeback before from a 4-goal deficit. Maybe going to be equalizing that record right here.
That is interesting to say the least. As I actually thought the goal would have come off the play beforehand after the demolition, because the respawn was actually left. It actually left them all bunched up in one corner. But we see ground zero making it interesting. At least they haven't got much time to play with though. So if they want to make this comeback real, we're gonna have to see it in the next 10 seconds.
Oh, Requiem was quivering there. He was a little bit scared, but he does brilliant work to get the double out that one.
This is going to be some pressure now. If Amphis can keep this up, it should be pushed away though. This is. I mean, you don't even need to commentate
Requiem.
this. Let it go.
Requiem! Why? What are you doing? He jumped, he backflipped thinking that he had to go up for that one. Panic stations, you saw it. Caveman Ben was running for the button, but it's Amphis chasing him down and just on the line ends up getting him. Requiem looking a little bit silly there.
I wonder if I have to issue a formal apology to Mindfreak now.
This is...
For cursing this one.
I don't think it was you. It was all on them. Now they have to figure out a goal. They've worked so hard to get any goals in the past. They get 4 goals in a row and then let 4 in return. Now it's a chance right here for Requiem. They have to play confidently. Almost faking out Jules as they're in overtime just to get to game 7 for Mindfreak, but they had this in the bag. They had this in the bag, and now they're letting it go away. It's a 3v1, a 3v2. Oh. But Wreck Fever now gets the breakaway. It's in. Fever manages to single-handedly save the day for Mindfreak.
Just when you thought the ground zero had reached in and pulled the game back out of the bag, Mindfreak take that one back. It took them a while. It was a while between drinks as they let 4 goals in before they found their next. And, well, yeah, doing it for the content, I think. Doing it for the content.
I don't know. How do you do that? How do you let 4 goals happen? Did they play too defensively? Well, definitely at the end, they started just only defending as they saw what seemed to be the comeback happening. But we'll see. They got the last goal, but not a good look here for Mindfreak. Not a good look here at all. Doesn't matter. It all goes down to one game, and as we know from Rocket League, anything can happen in a best of one. Anything can happen in one game. Especially the way that these guys have been fighting back and forth so far.
Looking shakier than the Opal Tower in Sydney, that's for sure.
Hasn't fallen just yet. Mindfreak. Maybe distressing Express a little bit there too. Requiem now over the top, has a big clear. Jules is looking awkward, but he's got to pass across to Amphis. Considering how tough it was to even get to that ball, for him to also pass it at the same time, for them to get the counter clear is huge, but that's a fake. Oh. That also might go in front of the net. It's on target. Fever somehow pulls that out of nowhere. He gets his hat out, rips it off, pulls not just one rabbit, but 2 or 3 here, as he even gets the bump on Amphis to prevent the save coming out.
Turns out there's a family of rabbits living in his hat. Started out as one rabbit, though.
That'll probably explain why, his brains have been a bit scrambled in the last game, because it's looking messy, but they've managed to do it. They've got their first goal again, and Mindfreak, last game they turned 1 goal into 2, into 3, into 4, into 5. Have a chance to do it again up against their closest rivals. And of course, it's going to go to a game 7. Did I ever doubt anyone? Did I ever think that Mindfreak weren't going to do it?
Well, this is the game that we were expecting in terms of series length. Certainly had some twists and turns along the way, though. That last game proving to be, I don't know, a real sanity check for some of our viewers, that's for sure. As, Amphis Express, that nice little 1-2. Spider-Man impression, just waiting in the corner there. Well put away.
That's actually kind of insane that he gets that backflip and still gets the direction.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to go in by the looks of it. Of course, Requiem had cleared it out right into the middle, went for the Zen cosplay there, but for now, it's a 1-goal game. Each of them nice and tied up. Sitting in a position where these mistakes really, really count.
Yeah, that I would put that in the category of express delivery.
You're saying that his Uber Eats arrived early.
Oh, absolutely. Earned the tip.
It's nice to see that Express has, at least still got solid reactions. Sure, he's only like, 21, 22? But that's an old man in Rocket League terms. And he's managed to keep it up.
Well, he's been playing at the top level in OCE for 5 years.
Yeah, one of the longest standing veterans of all time, really. The one that kind of worked out the longest player who's stayed in the top 10 of OCE. That's just a long clear, almost a goal. In fact, it is a goal. Mindfreak just scrambling in front of net every which way, and I don't know if they knew what was going on. Requiem couldn't quite get to that one. Caveman Ben maybe trusting his teammate a bit too much because he could have just
a shamble
gone for it as well. And this is where Mindfreak haven't looked their best when they're behind. Ground Zero may be able to capitalize on it, but Requiem here with a solo play. It's across the fever. It's tied up again.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This game is delivering. But that is some frantic gameplay coming out from Mindfreak. That is exactly what they needed as well, to just spark some life into this series and get themselves going. They're a team that really do roll with momentum, so I'm actually a little bit scared for Ground Zero right now, because if Mindfreak put away the next goal, which they may, this series has turned right around.
It's been topsy-turvy all the way through. You never know who's going to be in the lead at any point in time. And this one, you can kind of see that Caveman Ben hit against the backboard. It couldn't have been better. It couldn't have been a smarter choice. They were ready for the shot, but not for that high play. I don't know. You never can call it the way that this series has gone so far. I'm glad that we've been watching, though. Evers gets that one in, sneaks it in off the corner.
Yeah. He's been a real live wire, and sometimes he's had to do it solo. He's had to spark Ground Zero into this. That's why they brought him into the roster. They've trusted him with a lot of responsibility, and he delivers for them now. So we're back to 3 apiece. The series just keeps on reeling us in.
I don't understand how this is even possible at this point in time, but Caveman Ben backs off. I feel that's a bad sign. I wanted to see them be overconfident. That's when they've been able to score a lot. But as Game 7 comes to the fore, we may see, the lighthearted attitude of some of these players and teams towards the competition absolutely breaking apart. And that is the biggest ground pinch that has ever happened in Rocket League. It only goes 115, but where does it even come from? That is an absolute stunner.
Oh, Caveman Ben, you have belted that into the back of the net. And I tell you what, he arrives at the precise moment that Mindfreak needed him. And they're going to need to see more out of him, because I feel like this series still has some more to deliver.
It's got a lot to deliver the way things have been going, with Ground Zero able to make the comebacks. This is the flip reset for Amphis, but gets quickly shut down by Caveman Ben. 1 minute left on the clock. Ground Zero need to get the goal here. Jules, a big one. Caveman Ben keeps it out. Now Amphis for the solo play of his own. You can see the Mindfreak members diving left, right, and center every which way. And Jules, he's totally split the defense. Back to a tie game. 8 goals in the game so far.
They just could not get rid of him. They could not get rid of that ball, and Jules cracks it open. He's backed it for a piece. Oh, David, you could end up like me, mate.
This is a
Shortly after
nutty
this.
series, and Ground Zero just cracked them open like a nut. You saw the precision in that play. It's getting ridiculous at this point in time. The fact that there's still goals going back and forth. The fact that Mindfreak is scoring 4 goals in a game when, for a lot of this, their offense looks so flat. Now there should be another one on target. The accidental other touch. Maybe Emphas had an opportunity. Maybe Express could have got that in himself. But it's still going on. Are we going to see ourselves a Game 7 overtime? That's another shot on target. Saved out once more by Mindfreak. It continues in the attack. One last chance here for Mindfreak to get one of their own. But they should be low on boost. Shouldn't really have the chance to get this goal. It goes to OT. And it all goes to this next goal.
This is it. All the marbles on the line for these two teams. That's a big miss. Giving Amphis an opportunity to see what he can do. As well, it's now Mindfreak who's going to try and put it together. Requiem cannot squeeze it past the defense. As Fever tries again, but Ground Zero released themselves finally here. Needs to be careful. Express is waiting in the lurch. He cannot put that ball away though. And Jules is going to continue to heap some pressure on the Mindfreak. Amphis cannot find the angle. David, what is going on? Express just the shot on, hoping they don't have boost left in the tank. And this is pressure that Mindfreak are absorbing.
So much panic. Every button on the console being pressed. Which one will get us out of this situation? Well, it's causing these double commits too, so they're going to be feeling much better now that at least the ball's in the other end for a short while. A side flip from Requiem's not going to help out as the clear does not happen because of it. Caveman Ben's good touch. All goes to waste. As again, this ball keeps going straight to a member of Ground Zero. Emphas is looking for the solo play, but you saw that Requiem is very confident in his up the net play. Game 7 overtime again, all being delivered right now from Ground Zero. They're the ones getting shots on net. Amphas going for bumps. Caveman Ben stopping a solo play happening with a bump of his own. But it's still just sitting in this defensive half. It's still just sitting right in front of Mindfreak's goals. There's still more bumps coming out on Fever this time. And that is a fortunate touch that'll get the clear.
Yeah, they need to be careful too that they don't push too high.
No.
When they see these chances. Oh, what is going on? Amphis now. Opportunity. He lays in wait and puts this one to bed. Finally, David, we could go to bed knowing that this match is over.
That's a huge play from Amphas too, but it's such a counter-attack play. Get them all on the back foot. And Ground Zero, hold on. Game 7. Amphas in the lead. Taking that just to the left side of the net to secure it. And they managed to do it. That's another one for Express too, by the way. I think he was 2-11 in Game 7 overtimes in history. I don't know if we count gauntlet matches in that one, but now it would go to 3 wins, 11 losses for Express. A huge showing as well, considering he top scored for them.
Yeah, look, that's, it just speaks to his experience as a player as well. As we said, it felt as though he's been around since the beginning of time for OC Rocket League, because reality is he has. So for a player like him to step up when they needed it, I mean, it's almost expected of him at this stage.
I mean, it really is. I mean, I think he's been stuck in unfortunate circumstances. I think as well, he goes a bit more defensive when the pressure is really high. But again, this is not a tournament about setting up a lot of pressure for the players. It's a tournament about giving them the chance to compete, to improve, to get better and better. And I mean, that's the story as well for Mindfreak, right? The fact that they went to Game 7 OT against Ground Zero to show that there were games there that they really even dominated as such until they threw miserably 4 goals in a row before finally saving in overtime. It's good sign, kind of good signs for Mindfreak, right?
Well, I mean, there's signs of life there. I think that's probably the most important thing to take away from this is the fact that when they do put these games together, they've got some really promising talent on their roster.